Hi, this is Michael Cohen. I'm a Dallas elder law and estate planning attorney. I'm joined by my good friend Don Crawford Jr., who we used to have a radio show together. And now we've gotten to the more modern things like YouTube and things like that. So here we go. And so thank you, Don, for sharing and continuing to be a co-host with me.
My pleasure, Michael. I'm glad you asked me to do this. I always enjoy it. I always learn a lot from you, thankfully, and this program will be no exception, I'm sure. And today we were going to talk about Medicaid applications for nursing homes and things that people make mistakes on when they're filling out the application.
Yeah. So there's lots of different mistakes, and I'm not going to go through all of them. I wrote an article for my August 2026 newsletter, about 30 of them. I'm not going to go through
30.
30 today.
Wow.
I will go through a few that just come to top of mind. The first thing is make sure before you even apply that there's enough of a medical necessity for skilled care. So a lot of people think you do apply in advance before you're even in a nursing home. By the way, there's programs at home too, but I'm just going to be talking about the nursing home Medicaid program because a lot of times as we continue to age, um, people are more likely to need care. There's a program at home like called Star Plus Medicaid. There's 109 Medicaid programs in Texas, and I'm just going over one because it's a common one because most people don't have long-term care insurance and the cost of care is so great. I was just, I'm doing this here at the office, and I just had a meeting with a client. I said, okay, if we get your spouse on Medicaid, we're going to be saving 50, and in that particular case, $5,500 a month for the rest of their life. And we said, so how can we? And so this is why it becomes important because most people think Medicare is going to take care of them. Unfortunately, that's not the case. Anyway, a lot of times people try to do their own Medicaid applications, or somebody in the family does. Sometimes nursing homes themselves do it, but a lot of times there's errors. So, few of the ones that come to mind. First, again, applying too soon. You don't apply until you know that you're in a Medicaid bed. And number two, there has to be enough of a medical necessity for skilled care. If you're not bad enough, if if Don Crawford Jr. walked in a nursing home today and said, I don't have any money, now a lot of times people are for single. I know that that's not the case for Don Crawford Jr. But if if that were the case, if you had no income and no money, say, just take care of me, would they pay? No, no. You have to have enough of a medical necessity for skilled care. Just because you don't have you have limited resources doesn't mean that. A lot of people think that because traditionally most Medicaid programs are for those who have very limited resources. Now it's a lot different if you're married. And so I guess that gets me to another one off top of mind. Even if your income is low enough, you could keep a lot more than the countable resource limit, which is 160 and change, 160,000 and change. It could be hundreds of thousands. So a lot of times it depends on the income. So then you have to say, is there something that can be done with the income? So on this, um, one of the reasons why I asked this person that was just right here before I got on this recording was their wife was getting quarterly RMDs, required minimum distributions from their IRA. I said, if it was, let's make it monthly. In this case, not because we could expand the protected resource amount, but because we would not have to do what's called a qualified income trust. So if your income is greater than a certain limit, $2,982 a month, then you have to do what's called a qualified income trust. But a lot of people make another mistake of not looking at the gross income. Typically, Medicare Part B is taken out of your Social Security as opposed to looking at the net. So another common mistake is failing to take in consideration the income. And then also on the assets, even if the income was too great, you can often convert the assets into something that's non-countable, such as a Medicaid compliant annuity. So the person that before me, they had, quite frankly, a lot of RMDs. They had, uh, I don't remember exactly how much their income was each month, but they had $500,000 of retirement accounts. All that income did not count to will not have to go to the nursing home because it was the community spouses, the well spouse's income. So you could even buy a Medicaid compliant annuity if there's depends on the amount of assets and what they are. But a lot of times you could buy a certain type of annuity and still get eligibility. So it's a mistake to just instead of just spending down. Sometimes another mistake is if a lot of people have revocable living trust. For Medicaid, if you put your homestead in a revocable living trust, it counts as a resource. So that may be an error sometimes that people make. Sometimes people want to do it on purpose, but that gets into a planning event, which I don't want to go into now. If you've sold anything or given away anything within 5 years, uh, it has to be, you have to notify the state of that. So let's say you gave away a car to a grandchild. Well, that counts when they do look at the vehicle records. So be careful on when you give away anything because it could be an issue. Now, sometimes another mistake is not taking advantage of some of the gifting options. For example, if you had a grandchild that was under 21 and you had an irrevocable 529 or a UTMA account, a Uniform Transfers to Minors Act account, that's an exception to the rules. Or if your child is disabled, those are all exception to the transfer penalty rules, as well as transferring to a spouse. When you do have a home, the home, let's say you did have the home in your individual name, they look at, there's a form that you're supposed to say, is there an intent to return home? If you don't say there's an intent to return home, even if you don't think you'll ever come home, then it would count as a resource. So as long as there's an intent to return home, there's actually something you signed to say that, then it will not count as a resource. So that would be a common mistake that people might make. If you have a joint account, well, if it's the applicant's money and it was all their money, then somebody has to sign something says it's all the applicant's money. If it was all the money of somebody else and the applicant is on it, you have to rebut the presumption to show that they were on it. Another thing you failed to do, you should do, is quite frankly, although it didn't have to be on the Medicaid application, if somebody did have the home, then they probably should do either a ladybird deed or a transfer on death deed. And then also on your IRA, you should be careful on who your beneficiary is. Although IRAs traditionally are non-countable if it is a traditional IRA. However, if it's a Roth IRA, if you already paid the tax, there's no required minimum distributions, so that would count as a resource. So on Roth IRAs, you could buy any type of annuity within the IRA. Although some insurance companies won't sell any type of annuity if the person is over 85. But sometimes you could then cash it in and buy a Medicaid compliant annuity if worse comes to worse, which you could buy up till age 100. Well, needless to say, I could go on and on. As you can see, I just rattled them off the top of my head, but there's a lot more because I told you there's 30, and that I have no idea how many I just rattled off.
Hmm.
But anyway, there's lots of things to do and to consider. And as people age, and they're more likelihood they will not have either adequate income or long-term care insurance to pay for care, there's going to be more of a demand for, as we have our baby boomers aging, more of a demand for skilled care. So that's why these things become important.
One of our great presidents used to say, trust but verify. And when they apply for this nursing home Medicaid, or when they apply for it, they need to make certain that they have a brand new, fresh set of eyes or ears to look at everything, to hear everything, and to make sure everything is in order. And the way to do that is to attend your next vision or your workshop to start the process because you just never know. We're human, we all make mistakes.
Yeah, I mean, a lot of times we do get questions on Medicaid in particular because, well, people are getting older, and the older you are, the more likelihood of disability. Uh, yeah. So there's often questions because it is they don't make it easy. You have to go within the rules. But the good news is there are rules, and you just have to know what the rules are and just comply with those rules. And if you just comply with the rules, okay, that's fine. You go by the rules. They're the ones who make the goals. You have to go by their rules. So you just do it. So often at these workshops, people ask questions about Medicaid. And so if they do, we answer those questions. If you want to go to the free estate planning essentials workshop, we call it estate planning essentials, but that covers Medicaid also. All you have to do is call 214-720-0102. That's 214-720-0102, or sign up online at dallaselderlawyer.com. That's dallaselderlawyer.com. Um, it's free. You're going to learn something. The time will fly by, and you'll have some fun along the way.
In
And
person, right, Michael?
it's
Is it
in person. It's in
in
person. Yeah,
person?
we're over just north. Well, there's a conference center in our building, which is just north of Medical City Hospital, close to south of LBJ, but a little bit north of Forest Lane. Um, so it's just not too far from anybody, probably. Or I hope. But I guess it doesn't really matter. I guess what far is is a relative to whatever. So we've had some people travel for hundreds of miles to go to the free workshop. So, but in any event, if you want to go to it, and if you do go to that free 2 hour workshop, then we also give you the free 1 hour vision meeting that you were starting to mention. So you get 3 free hours of legal education without cost or charge. Again, if you're interested in doing that, then all you have to do is call 214-720-0102 or sign up online at dallaselderlawyer.com. That's dallaselderlawyer.com.
Done.
Thank you, Don.